Welcome to College Briefing. The content of the briefing includes: Chubby Hearts arrives in Hong Kong on Valentine's Day, met with mixed reactions. Rintaro Sasaki, projected #1 pick in Japanese pro draft, decides to play baseball at Stanford. Some worry California proposition to tackle homelessness would worsen the problem. Amid artificial intelligence boom, AI girlfriends and boyfriends are making their mark. Boston College turns on Louisville in second half for 89-77 win. Chubby Hearts arrives in Hong Kong on Valentine's Day, met with mixed reactions. South China Morning Post. British fashion designer Anya Hindmarch has brought her famous art installation, Chubby Hearts, to Hong Kong for the first time. The heart-shaped balloons, measuring 12 meters in diameter, were launched on Valentine's Day and will make daily pop-up visits to various locations in the city until February 24. The balloons are part of Hong Kong's mega events this year and are supported by the Mega Arts and Cultural Events Fund. Hindmarch's Chubby Hearts installation has previously been seen in London in 2018, 2019, and 2022. The designer said that her aim was to put a smile on people's faces and spread some love. The exhibition is curated by the Hong Kong Design Center and is expected to enliven the cityscape and generate new business opportunities in sectors like tourism and retail. However, not all residents are impressed. Some shop owners in the locations where the balloons are being displayed have complained that the presence of the balloons has hindered their business. Others have said that the display is random and not attractive. Rintaro Sasaki, projected #1 pick in Japanese pro draft, decides to play baseball at Stanford. Associated Press. Japanese high school baseball star Rintaro Sasaki has signed a national letter of intent to play at Stanford in 2025, the school announced. Sasaki, who will graduate from Hanamaki Higashi High School in March, hit a Japanese high school record 140 home runs and was projected to be the #1 pick in the Nippon professional baseball draft. However, he decided to go to a U.S. college instead. Sasaki has a career batting average of .413, with a .514 on-base percentage and .808 slugging percentage. Stanford's coach is excited to have Sasaki join the team and believes he will contribute immediately. Some worry California proposition to tackle homelessness would worsen the problem. Associated Press. Democratic California Governor Gavin Newsom is urging voters to approve a ballot initiative that he says is needed to tackle the state's homelessness crisis, a change social providers say would threaten programs that keep people from becoming homeless in the first place. In 2004, voters approved legislation that imposed a tax on millionaires to finance mental health services, generating $2 billion to $3 billion in revenue each year that has mostly gone to counties to fund mental health programs as they see fit under broad guidelines. Now Newsom wants to give the state more control over how that money is spent. Proposition 1, before voters on the March 5 ballot, would require counties to spend 60% of those funds on housing and programs for homeless people with serious mental illnesses or substance abuse problems. Amid artificial intelligence boom, AI girlfriends and boyfriends are making their mark. The Toronto Star. Companion AI chatbots are offering emotional support to lonely people, many of whom use the technology to cope with loneliness, sexual fantasies, or to make up for a lack of support in their real-life relationships. Many feel more comfortable developing relationships with AI companions, as opposed to humans, because of the lack of judgment. However, these are still programmed bots that are not able to offer the same level of companionship as a human. Researchers have raised concerns over privacy and security, as well as a lack of legal or ethical framework within the industry. In addition, the long-lasting impact of AI companionship on humans is still unknown. A study by Stanford University found that while some respondents felt that the app displaced their human interactions, 3 times as many reported that it stimulated relationships with real humans. Boston College turns on Louisville in second half for 89-77 win. Associated Press. Boston College defeated Louisville 89-77 in a men's college basketball game on Tuesday night. Claudell Harris Jr. scored 20 points for Boston College, while Devin McLaughlin scored 19 points. Quinton Post scored 17 points, Mason Madsen 11, and Jaden Zachary and Donald Hand Jr. each scored 10 for the Eagles. Brandon Huntley Hatfield and Trey White each scored 21 points for Louisville. Boston College outscored Louisville 29-10 in the first 10 minutes of the second half to secure the win. Inequality in funding driving public school exodus as private schools continue to lift enrollments. ABC. Private school enrollments in Australia have increased for the third consecutive year, according to the Australian Bureau of Statistics. The number of students enrolling in private schools rose by 2.5% in 2023, while public school enrollments only rose by 0.3%. Over the past 5 years, independent school enrollments have increased by 14%, Catholic schools by 4.8%, and public schools by 0.7%. Critics have said that the growth in private school enrollments shows a continued funding inequity in Australia, with government funding for private schools growing by 37% over the last decade, compared to 23% for public schools. Penn State's James Franklin hopes Big Ten SEC group can fix college football. Opinion. Yahoo! Penn State coach James Franklin has said that college football has become further away from what players signed up for, and is in need of regulation. Franklin added that college football needs the Big Ten and SEC conferences to do what's best for everybody amid issues surrounding name, image and likeness rights. Fort Worth ISD School Board finalizes staff cuts, teachers unaffected, officials say. Yahoo! An unknown number of employees in the Fort Worth School District will soon find out if they're being laid off after Superintendent Angelica Ramsey announced the pending cuts on Monday and the School Board of Education finalized the decision on Tuesday. How a classical guitar sparked an intercontinental love story. ABC. Ingrid Rialot, a French classical guitarist, moved to Western Australia's Esperance with her daughter 5 years ago after visiting the workshop of renowned luthier Greg Smallman. Rialot had seen a documentary about Smallman's guitars. Her first guitar was a second-hand one and she wanted one like his. She married his son, Damon, in 2017. Pond hockey in New Hampshire brightens winter for hundreds. But climate change threatens the sport. The Toronto Star. The U.S. Pond Hockey Classic, a tournament held on Lake Winnipesaukee in New Hampshire, has been moved to a smaller lake in 2017 due to a lack of ice. The tournament's founder, Scott Crowder, said that climate change was an uncontrollable factor that could threaten the event in future years. In addition to the Pond Hockey Classic, declining winter ice levels in the U.S. are threatening ecosystems and wildlife and causing accidents. Parents choose private schools at record rates, despite cost of living crunch. The Sydney Morning Herald. Private schools in Victoria, Australia, have seen their highest ever growth in enrolments in 2023, according to data from the Australian Bureau of Statistics. The number of students at non-government schools increased by 4.4% last year, compared to 2.9% in 2022. This growth was driven largely by low-fee independent schools, which saw a 65% increase in enrollments. The number of students at government schools increased by 1.7%, and enrollments at Catholic schools increased by 0.9%. Overall, government schools still educate the majority of students in Australia, at 64%. Mass student enrollment cancellations as universities rush to protect ratings. The Sydney Morning Herald. Australian universities and private colleges have cancelled numerous international student enrollment offers in an attempt to protect their risk ratings. Some institutions believe they are being unfairly impacted by the government's migration reforms, which aim to reduce intake by implementing tougher tests on students. The cancellations primarily affect students from India, Nepal, and Pakistan who are deemed a high risk of visa rejection. The increase in visa rejections is affecting mainly Indian, Pakistani, and Nepalese students, while rejections for Chinese international students applying for university are lower. Foreign student visa rejections to cost $310 million this year. The Sydney Morning Herald. Universities in Australia are warning that their revenue could be hit hard by the government's plan to cut net migration. The government wants to reduce the migration intake from 510,000 last year to 375,000 this year and 250,000 next year, causing 16 university leaders to complain. The Vice-Chancellors claim that the stricter rules are damaging Australia's reputation as a study destination and could lead to a revenue downturn of around $310 million Australian dollars, $230 million, in 2024 alone. The government stands by the need for stricter rules to address concerns around housing and congestion. Vancouver golfers enjoy warm February. But climate change concerns remain. CBC. Vancouver golf courses are busier than ever due to the city's warm weather. The 3 golf courses are currently at full capacity for this time of year, with Dennis Luke, the Vancouver Park Board's supervisor of golf operations, saying the city is enjoying a unique climate change benefit. While the weather has hit skiing in the area, it has allowed for more golfers on the course, with Luke saying, "This is fantastic from our perspective." Nebraska GOP bills target college professor tenure and diversity, equity and inclusion. Associated Press. Scores of people turned out Tuesday to testify well into the night on bills being considered by Nebraska lawmakers that target diversity initiatives and higher education programs, mirroring proposals by Republicans across the country. Ladies and gentlemen, it's your resident 6 doctor here with a roundup of the latest news from around the world. We've got heart-shaped balloons in Hong Kong, a high school baseball star heading to Stanford, concerns over a homelessness ballot initiative in California, the rise of AI companions, college basketball victories, private school enrollments on the rise, and much more. It's a mixed bag of news today, so let's dive in. First up, British fashion designer Anya Hindmarch has brought her famous Chubby Hearts installation to Hong Kong, aiming to spread some love and put a smile on people's faces. While some residents are impressed by the heart-shaped balloons, others have complained that they hinder business or find them unattractive. Well, I guess you can't please everyone, but it's nice to see some love in the air on Valentine's Day. In the world of sports, Japanese high school baseball star Rintaro Sasaki has decided to play baseball at Stanford instead of entering the Nippon professional baseball draft. This young talent is sure to make an impact on the Stanford baseball team, and his coach is excited to have him on board. Moving on to politics, Democratic California Governor Gavin Newsom is urging voters to approve a ballot initiative to tackle the state's homelessness crisis. However, some social providers are concerned that this change could threaten programs that prevent people from becoming homeless in the first place. It's a tricky situation, and we'll have to see how it plays out. Now, let's talk about the rise of AI companions. These chatbots are offering emotional support to lonely individuals, but researchers have raised concerns about privacy, security, and the long-lasting impact of these relationships on humans. While AI companions may be able to provide some comfort, they can't quite replace the companionship of a real human. So, if you're feeling lonely, maybe it's time to reach out to a friend or loved one instead. In the world of college basketball, Boston College defeated Louisville in an exciting game. And Penn State coach James Franklin is calling for regulation in college football, saying that it has strayed from what players signed up for. It looks like the world of sports is full of action and opinions today. Moving on to education, private school enrollments in Australia are on the rise, sparking criticism of funding inequity. Critics argue that government funding for private schools has grown more than funding for public schools, leading to concerns about the fairness of the system. And speaking of education, Australian universities and private colleges are cancelling international student enrollments in an attempt to protect their risk ratings. This move is causing concern among students from India, Nepal, and Pakistan, who are deemed high risk for visa rejection. It's a tough situation for everyone involved. And finally, let's talk about climate change. The U.S. Pond Hockey Classic in New Hampshire has had to move to a smaller lake due to a lack of ice caused by climate change. This is just one example of how declining winter ice levels are affecting ecosystems, wildlife, and even beloved sports. On the other hand, Vancouver golf courses are enjoying a boom in business thanks to warm weather. It seems that climate change is a double-edged sword, bringing both challenges and benefits. So there you have it, folks. A whirlwind tour of the latest news from around the world. It's always fascinating to see the diverse range of stories that make headlines. Now, I'd love to hear from you. What are your thoughts on these news stories? Do you have any questions for me? Let's keep the conversation going, and as always, stay curious, stay informed, and stay connected. Thank you for tuning in. The content above showcases the latest briefing reports and analytical synopses, thoughtfully curated by the 6Do team. These insights stem from a wide array of reputable media outlets, think tanks, government sources, and specialized experts worldwide. We encourage you to explore these sources for a comprehensive perspective. Keep in mind that while the content may not always align with the official standpoint of 6Do Brief, it's not meant to be taken as absolute directives for decision-making. Comprising seasoned media professionals, learned scholars, and accomplished scientists, the 6Do team embodies a trailblazing, fully independent media entity. To customize 6Do Brief to meet your professional needs, you have the option to subscribe to a diverse array of briefings on our website, 6dobrief.com. Regardless of your location, you can conveniently receive 6Do Brief via email.